the success of your prep is dictated by the success of your off season.
That's what she said.
Football was fun, no doubt.
Oh, wow. You're going to be amazed by this, Dave. We have sound effects for this show and everything.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Here we go.
All right. Watch the look on his face. He's going to be astounded. We'll get this thing started.
Slayer probably, right? Okay.
Guys, you're welcome to ask questions here on the show. We've got a topic that we're going to tackle. And then after that, if you have any questions you want to throw up for Dave, and for his given name is Weapon X, but we also refer to him as Derek. Sometimes feel free to post those up. Here we go. There's my sound effects. All right. What's up, guys? We're getting down to brass tacks with Weapon X. It was a little quiet.
I love it. Let's go.
Hold on, I got to turn that up a little bit. Let me try that again.
Yeah, that was kind of quiet.
There we go. Now we're jamming.
Weapon X.
You like that, Dave?
It's so
yes, it's
cool.
very, very, very heavy metal, very punk rock. Yes, indeed.
So, of course, back here with Derik Oslan. I'm Scott McNally. You guys already know that. And we are joined by one of my favorite people in the world, Dave Kalick. Dave's been coaching since forever, and he was competing since way before that. We've had you on.
Old.
We've had you on a bunch of times. You know, I mean, Dave was responsible for guys. Oh, the last time we had you on, it's when we had you on with Dorian Haywood, and we talked all about. That's the last time you were on. We had you on to talk all about the success that Dorian has had this season. We've had you on in the past, all the work you had done with Stan McQuay, who was an outstanding Hall of Famer. Today, we are going to discuss, it's kind of like a conglomerate of topics, but the reality is, when this show comes out, it'll be just about the beginning of the year. And it's a time that's important to start thinking about your planning for your year, basically, because what's the saying go? If you don't plan, there's like a plan to fail. Fail to plan.
If you fail to plan,
yes.
you prepare to fail.
Thank you. So there's
You're
that.
welcome.
So we're going to talk a little bit about planning. And one of the important factors in that, if you are going to hire a coach, is finding a coach that you jive with. So we're going to talk about that today and talk about the matchup we have here between Weapon X being coached by Dave Kalick for this next season. I'm excited to see what you guys do, by the way. We'll get into that. We're going to talk about their plans, but we thought we'd also throw out some tips to you guys about basically putting a plan together for yourself. I know that we're going to talk about finding a good coach. I thought maybe should we start with that? Do you think, Derek? I mean, this is your show. This is the show. So we should start. You take the reins here, man.
Okay. So that's a good starting point. So the first thing that people, I think, should really understand about themselves even before looking for a coach is, what is it that they want to accomplish? What direction that they want to move in? We are in a place now where if you want to compete in any federation, there is a multitude of different divisions and different choices that you can pick from. You have open bodybuilding, you have classic, and you have men's physique. So what physique of each division really resonates with you the most? Understand why it resonates with you, and then when you are either coaching yourself or looking for a coach, have that vision and that understanding in mind when you go in, because that's going to determine obviously what direction the person that you're working with takes with you. That being said, if you're in a position where you are looking for someone to coach you, I do believe that there is a due diligence that you should perform on your end to make sure that not only are you picking someone who is going to take you to the next level where you want to go, but like you said, someone that you jive with. Which brings me to myself and Dave. So I've known Dave for about 3 years now, 4 years. I don't think me and you formally met at the Nationals when Dorian and I turned pro at the same show.
Oh, no kidding! I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Dorian won the super heavies and I won light heavyweight. Okay. So yeah, we both turned pro in 2016. I don't think I ever formally met Dave, but obviously I met Dorian and had spoken with him quite a bit. I think it was a year or two later I met Dave. But I've competed against his client, Adam Young, who's also a 212 guy. I competed against him a multitude of times. So I've had the honor of being able to speak with Dave and meet him, and he's always been super nice to me, super encouraging, and all of that stuff.
And here's the thing: I gotta jump in just to like paint this picture, because Derik, you being backstage at all these pro shows, a lot of the audience doesn't really understand what that looks like. But I can tell you that Dave Kalick is a facet, basically. If you're backstage at a pro show, there's a 99% chance that Dave Kalick is back there too. He's always back there.
If I have athletes in the show, yeah, I'll be there.
More than likely. But backstage, it depends on the person. Honestly, I'm the type of person that I like to joke around and talk with everybody. I'm very lighthearted.
I was just saying, you see Dave outgoing. Back there. You just.
For sure.
Yes, that's all.
But I mean, Dave is this. I was bringing that up because Dave is the same way, which is why we were able to meet and become friends and have a relationship. There are a lot of guys who don't talk to anybody and they just sit there with their headphones on and just brood and look like they're about to go to war. Like, no, we're getting on stage in underwear in front of hundreds of people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not it's so funny when you see the post like, going to war, it's on fucking Greco-Roman wrestling, so people should interact, athletes, coaches, people should interact backstage, you know what I mean? It's not World War II fucking going over the trenches, but at the same time, correct. I mean, of course you're focused, but yeah, I mean, it's just, you find like usually the people who actually, there's a lot of camaraderie backstage.
Yeah, I love that too.
For sure. More than people would think. People think backstage, I mean, of course it's tense, I mean, just the fucking smell of Protan is the Pavlovian dog for some people. Some people start getting nervous.
It is for me.
Me too.
When they start tanning and they smell that Protan, it's like the whole, dog salivates at 4:00 when they hear the dinner bell, so there's going to be fight or flight no matter what as it is. So backstage, if you're a competitor, you're actually doing yourself a favor if you could actually literally take a deep breath. I mean, of course you're going to start pumping, glazing, and all that, but you definitely want to it shouldn't be where you can hear a feather drop backstage, and it's not. Most people, guys, because it is nerve wracking.
It is, but I find that you're the least nervous when, at least for me, when you're ready.
No, I'm fucking nervous. I'm nervous. I just don't show it as much, but yeah. I mean, I'm excited.
As the athlete,
excited and nervous at the same time,
Oh yeah, no. As a coach, I get way more nervous for my clients competing than I do when I'm competing.
Huh.
And I would say that when I'm competing, the only time I really get nervous is when I'm in line. When I'm in line and my feet touch the stairs, and I'm like, oh shit, it's about to go down.
Yeah.
And then once I hear my name, I almost kind of check out. Yeah. I'm almost watching myself from the outside do what I'm supposed to be doing. It's very meditative almost.
Huh.
Except for the Olympia. The Olympia, I was pretty jacked up for it. I was pretty hyped. But anyway, yeah. So when I made the decision that I wanted to look for a new coach, what I thought to myself is, when other people are looking for a coach and they come to me, what is it that what they look for and what are they coming to me with? And what I mean is, I get a lot of clients who left other coaches because it's almost always the same reason: poor communication, poor attentiveness on the coach's part. So that led them to look to somebody else. I have a very strong camaraderie among all of my guys. A lot of them work out together who otherwise would never have met each other.
That's cool.
So I've gone out of my way to really create a very strong community of people who feel comfortable, sharing the process with one another, not just physically in the gym, but also a lot of them are friends now that, if not for me coaching, they probably never would have met and interacted with each other. having someone who can develop that bond with another person was very important to me. Number two, I wanted to feel important. I have been with coaches with big names in the past who it became very clear that even at the level, I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say this, but like even at the level that I'm at, I still felt like I was just a number, and it came across in the way that I was being coached. Yeah. So yes, I wanted someone who obviously had the knowledge base. It was going to bring something new and different to the table, something new and different that worked. And Dave ended up in that bracket for me because of this podcast. Actually, this podcast is the reason why. Because like I said, I knew Dave, seeing him at shows and stuff, and interacting and having those friendly banters and stuff. But I didn't realize how knowledgeable and how intelligent he actually was until I started listening to this show.
That's so cool, man.
So, and then hearing Dave talk about Dorian and his old stories with Stan, I was like, this dude gives a shit, and it's very apparent. It's not like, oh, I give a shit because they do well. It's like, I give a shit because I care about these people, and as a result, they do well. Yeah. So, I was like, I gotta give Dave a shot. So, when I messaged him, I think Dave hit me back like an hour later, and he's like, you have time right now? I'm free. Let's get on the phone.
That's a very Dave. That's a very Dave move. Yes.
And then before I could even respond, he was already calling me, and I was like, oh, all right. So I answered, and he was like, hey, Derik, what's going on? All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to win the next show that we're in. You're going to be stupid peeled. Everyone's going to lose their shit, and then we're going to the Olympia. Here's how we're going to do it. Like, no, and I shit you not. There was barely a hello. It was like, hey, Derik, all right, so we're going to win this shit, and we're going to get fucking peeled, and here's how we're going to do it. And I was like, this is the enthusiasm that I need.
That's cool.
I was sold. So when you're looking for a coach, yes, you want to make sure that they can produce results and they have tangible evidence that they are able to do that for other people, not for themselves. A lot of people can follow a plan. That doesn't mean that they can teach other people how to do it.
Yeah. And everybody's different. Every plan is different,
Yes. So, every individual comes with different things that they bring to the table, both physically and genetically, as well as psychologically. Are you able to adapt to different personalities, or is the coach you're looking for able to adapt to different personalities? Or do you find, like, for example, there are a lot of guys who, like, only post their genetic elite clients, and you never see anybody else. So is it that are they a good coach because they're able to take these people to such a high level, or are they just getting lucky with genetic potential, like monsters? So Dave, from learning about him and seeing what I've seen, he's taken people who were not necessarily genetic elite when they started and brought them to, Dorian's a perfect example. And now we see him as this monstrous human being with tons of muscle, and he is going to get to the Olympia probably this year.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll happen.
That took time because wasn't he a bantam when he first started competing, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, he started actually when he was in high school wrestling. He was like wrestling like 105 pounds, and that's just a hard worker right there.
No,
same. I wrestled in high school, and it was the same. I was the same exact body weight.
Wrestling. Yeah, I think. I got to say, I think really good bodybuilders come from classics. Wrestling, football.
Yep,
no doubt.
Yep,
always.
So all of that together led me to pick Dave. But honestly, the biggest factor was just knowing that he gave a shit about me as a person. That was the most important thing. He gave a shit about me and makes me feel important.
The reason why I wanted to work with Derik, as some people know, I coaching for me is a passion. I'm fortunate to be able to be in a situation where I can do coaching not as my job, but as fun, it's my passion, and so therefore, getting to know Derik over the last few years, he's who he is as a person is what the biggest thing. I was excited to call him back when I saw the message because, you know, after interacting with him for a couple of years, you know, backstage, and he was saying, and all, you know, you could tell good people. And if I'm going to coach someone, I want to be able to, you know, have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And it's not cookie cut, you know, just like there's a dead relationship. Because again, this to me is I'm doing this, you know, it's my passion for fun, you know. So therefore, you know, I want to be able to feel good who I'm interacting with doing this. And with Derik, it's very simple. I mean, the potential is just insane. And there's nothing very sexy here about this prep. It is literally getting him leaner than he's ever been on stage.
Okay.
And that is really the objective. There's nothing fancy, nothing sexy about it, as I said. It's just literally getting him to conditioning level where he hasn't, you know, we're just a new level of conditioning. And that's the feedback I got that we need to do, judges, etc. And that's literally the plan. And we've started early. We've already started. You know, we don't want to be rushing and chasing things at the end.
Yeah.
If anything, I'd like to be backing off towards the end. God forbid.
Yes.
God forbid you could take your foot off the gas pedal at the end. God forbid you could start dissipating off of things. You know, God forbid you could start to slow down the conveyor belt.
Yeah.
At the end, you know, that's what we want to do here. So the idea is not only do I want him better conditioned than he's ever been, but I want him ready early.
Yeah.
So there is not a lot of stress at the end. So there's not chasing conditioning at the end.
You know what it takes to do that.
There's not 3 hours of cardio a day at the end and zero. Like it shouldn't be that way. I want that shit to look robust up there and fresh, not all cortisol looking out.
And that takes planning, and that takes starting now, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and that takes starting now. So we're talking about like I'm not taking any more clients, but if you listen to what Derik is saying with Scott as far as planning with clients, if you guys should start reaching out to let's say you guys are working with Derik and you guys are planning on, let's say, competing in the spring or summer or whatever. Yes, it's the holidays. Enjoy your time with the holidays with your families and all that stuff. You know, don't get me wrong, but you should be strategically starting a plan. And you should reach out if you're working with Derik, Scott, reach out to these guys. If you're competing in the summer, get the wheels turning right now because, excuse the expression, I don't know, maybe I made it up, but like, you know, the success of your prep is dictated by the success of your off season.
Yeah.
And bodybuilding is planning. Bodybuilding has to do with discipline, you know, committing the task, completing the task, and it's planning. You have to be very strategic with foods, when you start a prep, off season. To me, I look at it like it's all one prep. It's like, you know, there's a show in August. There's a show in July. To me, the off season it segues into the prep. It's just a date.
What do you mean by segues into it?
Like, in other words, like some people, they're just like, okay, it's bulking season, right? Mm-hmm. Or it's all, you know, then all of a sudden now it's the magic day. Now it's cutting season, you know, or prep. Sometimes you have to have like a transitional thing, you know, it should almost gel together, you know, to go from like 1,000,000 trillion calories down to like a caloric deficit overnight. Where the fuck are you going to go from there?
Yeah.
So sometimes you need a transition. Sometimes, you know, God forbid, before the actual like literal prep starts, you might need 4 weeks of down structuring carbs and calories to get sensitive, you know, so you could actually start getting high days involved in the initial prep, you know, I mean, you shouldn't want to start with 10 hours of cardio a day. It should be progressive, you know, and I just find that, let's say, starting earlier. And again, I know I'm just kind of like, I look at everything as just like there's a date for a show. And yes, there's off season pre-contest, but I find them that they overlap and just gel together. You know, and that takes planning. So in other words, if you're one of Derik's athletes, whatever, there's a show that's planned in May, you should already be involved with a preliminary like off season ending into prep. You know, you should be planning and communicating with
Let me ask you guys this then. So, you know, as we were talking about setting a plan up, when should people, how early should somebody reach out to a coach? If only to touch base and be like, hey, you know, I'm thinking about doing a show next year, this time, whatever, you know, how long do you think we need to do that? How early should somebody reach out to their coach?
You should look at it like, I mean, to me, you should look at everything like in kind of like in 12-week segments. I'm not saying every prep is 12 weeks or off seasons are 12 weeks, but I mean, when you're 24 weeks out or 20 weeks out at the very least, you should be communicating. You should already there should be some degree of, even if you're not starting right then, at the very least, there should be pictures. Let me see where you're at. I mean, there should be, I don't know. I mean, if someone comes to me I want to see labs right away. I want to see current foods, what they're currently doing, take whatever, I mean, there should be information going on. There should be communication going on. There should be some degree of piecing something together when you're 20 to 24 weeks out, something, at the very least. If not concretely, if you're a national level or a pro, it's all your communication. There's there's times where you let off the pedal a little bit here and there, of course, and there's breaks from gear and all that, of course, TRT, that's a given. But if you're a serious competitor, national level pro, you should literally be planning and communicating with whoever you're working with or whatever all year. Like, it should just be an ongoing plan. Even if it's I
agree.
Just, there should just, communication is the biggest thing for all this. No matter what phase, if it's a week, I mean, obviously before the show, obviously there should be tons of communication. But even in off season, there should be communication, because issues are going to come up with foods. Issues are going to come up with stuff. You have to work through issues. You also want to be progressive with foods when you're doing stuff in off season. It's not just, it should be comprehensive what you do in the off season. It shouldn't be all fancy with the prep either. You should have more involved. Sometimes the more involved in the off season, the more control you have over things, numbers, foods, and all that, dictates an easier situation for prep, where the prep just becomes predictable and easier.
That's so true. That's so true.
Some foods for thought.
I felt really grateful this year. A friend of mine that I've worked with a number of times for prep, stuck with me all through her off season. And in the past, it had been like where
I literally have no sound right now.
Uh-oh.
You can't hear us? Can you hear us?
How about now, Dave?
We can hear you. Oh, he can't hear us, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You might have maybe pressed something and
I think I'll text him.
Maybe?
You know what? He might have. We need him to call back.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to take a brief moment to shout out our sponsors. I'll make it quick, but this stuff's super important because it's our sponsors that help to make this show possible. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. And if it wasn't for you shopping with our sponsors, we wouldn't be here either. You can support our programming by shopping with TrueNutrition.com. They're our title sponsor. They've supported us for a number of years. They have awesome health and performance supplements. You can ask Skip or Dusty or Scott Stevenson all about True Nutrition, and they'll tell you how good of a company they are. Hardcore bodybuilders have trusted them for over 15 years now. Use our code THINK. You'll get some savings. You'll support our programming. If you're in Canada, you can shop with supplementsource.ca. They have highly discounted supplements, discounts on bulk orders, and free shipping over $99. Check them out. And finally, you can directly support our programming on Patreon. I'll have links below for Patreon and everything else. We're taking more questions over there, and I appreciate everybody who's already helping to directly support our programming through our Patreon. All right, guys, thanks for hanging with me. Let's get back to the show.
My fuck up at home.
It's the technology, man. It's not perfect. Yeah. No, but I was saying,
make fun of Dave in the comment section.
Yeah,
I was saying though, I felt really grateful.
Let me have it.
This girl that I've worked with, she's come to me kind of last minute for a couple of preps, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this. It was so rewarding that we worked together from the last show to this show. And when you do have an opportunity to work with somebody through an off season, it does make a huge difference. Just because you're on the same page through the whole thing. And I get exactly what you mean, Dave. It's like you there's no definitive moment where I've had people ask me like, well, when do we start the prep? When does the prep start? And it's like, well, we might, the prep's already started. We're a year out, right. But we're playing, right. What we're doing now leads into what we're doing next month. And that leads into the next month,
exactly, That's exactly the point. And it's planning. Like, you always want to think, you should always be thinking at least 6 or 8 weeks ahead. You should literally be, nothing's engraved. Listen, that being said, nothing's engraved in stone. Everything's subject to change. But you should have some semblance of structure. And then as issues come up, then you adjust, not the other way around. Because then you're going to find yourself behind.
Yeah.
You always want to be ahead in a prep. You always want to be ahead in a prep, because the more ahead you have, the more ahead you are, the more variables you have control. The more switches you can flip. The more things
and
you
the
can
less
assess
stress
and
you
back
are.
off of.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's things you can, and again, I can't emphasize more how the last, like the week, we've talked about this multiple times. The best scenario is when that last week is really just kind of another week to get better, And I think that the problem is that there's too much emphasis on like expecting miracles out of this last week. I know this is a whole other show, but I'm skipping around. It just goes back to the point of just wanting to be organized and communicate. As Scott was saying, like, look, the best successful, like when there's communication well ahead of time, well before the prep starts, come on, it's always better.
Yeah.
Because of communication, and again, it's easy to work through issues and stuff. So I just, if your clients and people out there, like whoever you're working with, it's okay. Be proactive, and there should be a meeting of minds. You should meet each other halfway, you and your client. You guys should both be reaching out for communication and seeing what's going on. And that communication is critical because some clients, Scott, Derek, some people are just afraid of saying, I don't know, avocado is bloating me with Sam. Some people they won't speak up, right? We have to pull it out of them, and it's frustrating. So, I mean, if you guys know, if you're prepping and you're feeling the sting and the suffering of prep, you want each week to be productive. So clients, people, if issues are bothering with foods or this and that, like speak up because, it's every week should be productive. And when things are there's not enough communication, then it's hard to salvage a fucked up week from lack of communication when things could be adjusted and changed.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I agree with that. I mean, I'm pretty much in agreement with everything that Dave said. If I'm working with if a client's coming back to me who I've already worked with and done preps with in the past, so if you have a date, right, 2 to 3 months, so 8 to 12 weeks before you are 20 weeks out, so 28 to 32 weeks out is when I want to hear from you because. Okay. Chances are, if you've had a substantial break of like a few months or whatever from the last show, I err on the side of you probably did not follow a structure at all. You probably did whatever the hell you wanted. You probably have a bunch of water retention. You're probably inflamed. You probably didn't train as hard as you think you did. And now there needs to be a reset of sorts, both physically and mentally, to kind of get you back into the groove. And the body may respond differently to the same strategy that you did prior. I want to figure that out at 28 and 32 weeks out.
Exactly.
Not 8, 10, 12 weeks out, and then do what Dave was talking about and try to chase a shape and condition or chase a miracle or try to bet it all on, as long as we're relatively close to where we want to be by peak week, we're going to do this magical fairy manipulation and you're going to be Phil Heath.
Nightmare scenario, exactly.
Yeah.
Dave's mantra is, I like to sleep good at night. So we're going to do things early because he goes, I'm old and I like my sleep. And if things are not going the way I like, I'm not going to sleep. So we're going to get this thing done now.
I like that. So you guys are already dieting now. Is this like when we say you're dieting, are you pushing? Like, are you hungry now or what's going on?
Yes and no. I mean, we I mean, like, we've already come down. How much have we already come down? Like 16? How many pounds already by now since the very start?
Shit. So, man, we got it. So my top morning weight was 258 pounds. My top night weight was like 263, 264. And honestly, we got up there pretty easily. We kind of had to hit the brakes on it. Because I was gonna, if we just kept going the way we were going, I was just gonna take off, and I would have classed right out of 212 very quickly.
No kidding.
So
that's crazy.
Oh yeah. Like I was eating a lot of food, but like it was after the first week or two, it was pretty easy to get down. And my body was just hyper responsive and ready to go. So I'm down to. So Dave, when me and you spoke on Monday, after I came back from New Orleans, I was 240, and I'm around 236 right now. So I'm already
it's like
coming
at
back
least
down.
like, so we've already taken off like 22 pounds, whatever, 23 pounds. So let me just explain. So we already started, like, so we created a caloric surplus. We created it, maintained it for a bit, and then we just right away, I mean, we started dipping down because his weight.
Yeah.
So we started we did this like in 3 phases. We down structured calories in 3 phases. Mm-hmm. And now we're at a point where he's definitely in a deficit now. It's not a crazy deficit. You know, we're not like depletion from now eating just fish and veggies and 2 hours of cardio a day for the rest of no, it's nothing like that at all. But there's a down structure and his weight is reflecting it. You know, he'll probably wind up just in the next 2 weeks, he'll probably wind up coming down like another 7 or 8 pounds, you know? And,
that wouldn't surprise me.
So the point is that yes, the answer is yes, we are very much in it. We're not in depletion phase. You know, there'll be a lot of things. There's keto phases, there's rotational carb. There'll be a lot of things, a lot of moving parts in this prep, but we have right now a stable of what we're working with, and we'll manipulate off of that. But right now, the answer is yeah, we have started. You know, May 21st is going to be here before you know it. And again, keep in mind the concept of this is being ready. You know, 3 calendar weeks early, God forbid.
Yeah, I like that.
So that's why we're doing this now. I would like to and plan on being able to back off towards the end, for obvious reasons.
You know,
yeah. Now we're fucking in it. Now we're fucking in it. Yeah.
So
he's getting hyped now. You hear it?
Let me ask you guys this then. So does that mean, you know, because a lot of times people think of the idea of like, okay, we're on prep now. Does that mean like you can't have any Christmas dinner? How does that work?
Oh, no. He has to. I mean, of course. No, listen. I mean, there's, like I said, one thing that's kind of cool about starting early is there's more flexibility with things. So,
correct.
You know, I don't want him to be 290 pounds a day after Christmas.
Right.
The funny thing is right now, like he's going to eat on Christmas, right?
Yeah.
But things are moving along. His body's moving along because it's not like, you know, we've been doing this for a while now already. So the funny thing is, shit, he might even, who knows? I don't know if we're at the point where he might lose a pound or 2 from eating on Christmas, you know, that metabolic little punch. I don't know if we're there yet, but the point is that he's not going to, we're past the, how do I say it? We're out of the inflammatory woods phase.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
very much so.
Like, yeah. So all the inflammation, all that stubborn, crazy, visceral shit, like we take it. So right now we're in a position where who the fuck knows? Maybe he eats on Christmas and he actually dips down a pound or 2. But the point is he's in a really good space right now because we've, again, started very, very early, which gives us lots of flexibility at the end and good sleep. Knowing he's going to be in shape.
And then
good sleep for Dave. I sleep fine. Good sleep for Dave.
Let me ask you guys this then.
You know,
so what kind of an effect is this having on your training, Derek?
So I will say this, since we have brought food down a little bit, I definitely have backed off a little bit from the last time we spoke, I went into the 2-a-day training that I was doing.
Oh yeah.
I still do it sometimes. Like if I'm feeling really good that day, then I try to maintain that caloric output as much as possible. But there are definitely days where I'm a little bit more tired than usual, and I'll get through my first session fine, but I can feel it by the end that it was a little bit more neurologically taxing than I was used to when I was in the heavy surplus.
Yeah.
So I'll do the smart thing and not do the second session. But one of the biggest things that I've done this time around that I didn't that I've never done in the past was, so I have this little Apple Watch, so I track my steps.
Cool.
So I keep an eye on and regulate the amount of activity that I'm doing. So I try to hit 10K steps a day. So, and that's counting the formal cardio that Dave has me doing. So I'll get the steps in from that, and then I just make sure I walk enough to hit 10K steps, and that has kept me from having to do a bunch of dumb stuff cardio wise, and from having to push the food down super low as well. So even though I'm not doing the 2-a-days, I make up for it in other ways. But I would be lying if I said that I wasn't feeling it a little bit. But like, whatever. I've done this a million times, and there's no way that I've been in the position of having to do 2+ hours of cardio a day and having to eat fish and asparagus for weeks on end. In the past, in past years, in order to get in shape. So anything less than that is, I'm not going to say it's easy, but I pretty much, I'm like, whatever. I roll right through it. And I still make sure I train hard. I got to see Dave in person in Arizona a couple weeks ago.
Oh, hell yeah.
And he put me through the ringer. He tried to... You went out of your way to try and kill me, because you were like, at the end of the leg session, he goes...
No, that's actually, believe it or not, that was kind of entry-level leg training. That was not intentional. That's just kind of like...
Oh, my God.
That's just how we do it. So,
no, I say that.
You're definitely more fucked next time.
I'm not worried about shit.
Honestly, seriously about Derik, though, listen, his endurance is training. Listen, he trains fucking hard. Okay, That being said, all that stuff, like it's a very hard workout what we did, and 9 out of 10 people are barfing, and I could tell he some people say, okay, I train legs hard, whatever, but you could tell that he knows how to train legs hard, because there's a lot of people who brag about that, and then after 2 sets of ascending sets on leg press, you're like, no, I'm like, no, that's now we're warm, and they freak out. So no, Derik's training, his endurance is high. He can definitely, he trains very, very hard. So
how would you define his recovery from what you've seen, say compared to everybody else in the world?
I mean, I've seen people want to stop after the first or second exercise. He had to recover. We certainly had to check on his heart rate sometimes in between sets.
Overall. He's doing some 2-a-days still, occasionally, stuff like that. I'm talking like big picture. You're watching him, day to day, week to week.
One thing is recovery. Like, first thing is for prep, especially like the way his prep is designed is basically his calories come up the night before legs. His calories are higher on the day of legs, and his calories are higher the day after legs for about half the day. And then he goes back into the caloric deficit. That's pretty much the right now the meat and potatoes of what's going on with his prep. That because I want him to have energy for legs, I want his legs to recover, and by positioning more caloric density pre, the night before legs and the day of legs and the day afterwards. This enables us to have him recover his legs, because to me, it's like, I think a lot of people, when you start getting into prep and there's the cardio increases and leg training, whatever, if you start losing that recovery, that's when, there's cortisol issues, whatever. It just seems like, for me, I just want to protect that aspect of his recovery. And then therefore the rest of the week, I feel like if he could recover, I feel like if he has enough hepatic and muscle glycogen going into his leg training, and he has that for recovery, and then again for the day afterwards, I feel that when he goes back into the hole, he'll be able to recover even for the rest of the week with other body parts.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering, because I know, I don't mean to brag on you here, Derik, but I mean, you are one of the genetic elite. And so I guess my question is more like, seeing how, what Scott Stevenson put it this way. He was like, working with Jordan Peters was like having a sports car. Like, you're working with a Ferrari at that point, and that's what he said about working with like Dave Henry. It's like, and that's I guess is like, he's, I'm sure it's got to be fun from your perspective working with him.
Oh yeah, no, for example, so to answer your question, yes, he as far as that standpoint, he's elite, Derik, as far as recovery, how he's able to functionally move weight from point A to point B. And just from a physical standpoint, yeah, he's someone who can train with incredibly high intensity, and he recovers. His recovery time, I mean, he's not dying on his back for 5 hours in between each set. I mean, he's able to recover and get back on the horse.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, like, oh, don't get me wrong. Like, this is the leg training that we did was very intense, and yeah, because of the elite athlete he was able to make it through it.
And you see him handling more, even is what it sounds like you were saying.
Sure.
That's a lot, man. That's a lot. Versus, yeah, someone else might not, like me, I might be able to like stick through with it, like, get the guts to do it, but I don't know if that means I should. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, like, that was the first time that we trained legs together. I mean, Derik will come down to Venice here sometime during the prep, and we'll train and probably throw a little bit more of the kitchen sink at him, because yes, he can definitely handle it.
That's cool.
So
I will say that just knowing myself and all this flattery, I don't even know what to do with myself. I will say that my partially genetic, my tank always has been a little bit deeper than even a lot of my peers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's also a huge mental component as well, where I just want when I'm in that hole and during the session and I'm feeling it at that depth of that deep of a level, I just want more. Like just as an example, I think it was the second to last exercise. I believe it was vertical leg press, and I think Dave started talking to me about different things, and it sounded like I think we were about to wrap up the session, and I was like, "What's next?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "What's next? I know we're doing something else. Like, let's go." He was like, "All right, let's fucking do it." And we did like one or two more movements, and that's not like I wasn't trying to like put on a bravado or anything.
Yeah.
But one, I wanted to, I knew I only had a finite time with him, so I wanted to squeeze the sponge as much as I could, and also just let him know I don't pussyfoot around this shit. Like, yeah. I want it. And not only do I want it, I want you to know that I can handle anything that you throw at me comfortably. So
yeah, the thing is, the biggest thing what separates really good bodybuilders is it's the mental. It's the mental. Whether it's this kind of training, be able to do what he's or be able to have your hand on the stove during prep. It's a mental game. And
I like that analogy.
When we started training,
it's good.
I mean, you don't get development like that training like a pussy. And it's almost like we start training, goes without saying it's going to be hard. So
yep.
I felt like it's almost like, it just, I think we got right to the point with our training. Cause I have an idea of what he was capable of, and you could tell after the first exercise. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Let me kick this light on.
Good idea.
It's going to be, pretty cool to just increase, more intensity, because he can definitely handle it mentally, and I'm sure he'll be able to handle it physically.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to ask Dave a question, and I'm sure you'll enjoy this question too, Derik. What is this?
Why is there a picture? Wait, how did you do that?
What would you think that was? What would you describe this as? Well, what does it look like to you? What would you think that was?
It looks like a tennis. It looks like if a tennis ball and a lemon had a baby, and and then Shrek's ears or something. I don't know, wrapped around it.
Could be. That's close. I think that's very close.
I know what it is, but I'm not.
So those are Shrek's ears, and it's not a lemon and a tennis ball that had a baby.
This is actually the most anabolic object in the world. This is known as as Matt said, the Christmas cabbage.
This is Christmas cabbage. If you haven't listened to the episodes with Dave Crossland, this is like his thing. Is there? I can't believe it's an actual. Is that a toy? Like, is that an actual toy?
I think it's a dog toy. I think it is.
Oh my God.
I think it is. I just wanted to throw that up there. I know that Derek really enjoys Christmas cabbage.
I thoroughly enjoy Christmas cabbage.
Look at the look on Dave's face right now. He looks very confused.
Christmas.
I was literally about to say we could use that as a code name. That could be your new nickname, Dave.
The devil, or otherwise known as the devil's salad. Reefer Madness. The devil's salad.
The devil's lettuce.
Yes.
Devil's lettuce.
And no,
That
so
is beautiful.
I know that Derek wanted to talk a lot about, the one of the big points he wanted to hit home here was talking about finding a coach, and we thought that we could kind of evolve that into putting a plan together. Man, I feel like putting a plan together is so important, and having a good coach is, a really big part of that. So I didn't know where this was going to go, but I think we got some good stuff out of this, and got to hear from Dave some more.
That being said, making sure that you have a good coach that is very knowledgeable and knows what the hell they're doing, and gives a shit about you at the same time. But there is also an element that I think is lost with today's athletes. I highly believe in the athlete also doing their due diligence in knowledge acquisition to an extent. And I say that because one of the points that Dave really drove home was communication, right? So yes, we talk a lot and we communicate a lot, but because I am, again, I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say this, but I've spent a lot of money and time to acquire the knowledge that I do have.
Sure.
Because I am also academically inclined when it comes to bodybuilding and physiology and all that stuff. Me and Dave are able to communicate on a very similar plane. Yeah. So we're able to bounce ideas off of each other, and get down to brass tacks. Very seamlessly. You like that?
I like that.
The subliminal messaging.
Yes.
As an athlete, you should definitely take your own knowledge acquisition very seriously, because it's going to make your coach's job really easy, and you will also know what you need to communicate to them without them having to badger you and ask you about it.
Good point.
And it just makes the process so much easier and smoother. It definitely has for us, and also me and Dave get along really well. He's just like me, an avid animal lover. This is another point that I wanted to make, and why I picked him. This man is obsessed with animals, almost as bad as I am, if not slightly worse. So, if I'm gonna mess with you and especially be friends with you, you have to like animals. All right, there's just a piece from the relationship that's taken away that will really affect like how close I can be with that person if they don't like animals.
If you're getting animals are better than people. It's like people killing each other. I get it. Sometimes it's necessary, but somebody but somebody like laying a finger on an animal, that's it. I lose my shit. So anyway.
We won't dive into that too much, but you guys got the point.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Like if you were to become close friends with someone and then you find out like they don't like dogs, then you're like, oh, what changes everything?
If you don't like dogs, like what kind of a fucking human being are you? I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. Maybe.
But there are cat people in the world, though. There are cat people.
No, but I mean, just people. Animals are fucking amazing. And.
They are. Animals are pretty cool.
To me, the animal kingdom represents God. That's what true. That's how I look at it.
That's actually not to dive too deep into that rabbit hole, but that's actually a very a lot of indigenous people see the world in the very same way. So they whether they believe in God or a higher supreme being of some sort, they don't separate the two. It's not like there's people and then there's this supreme being. They see the supreme being in everything. So like as an example, like my dog is next to me. So like they see God or their higher deity in their animal. They see it in the plant life. They see it in everything. So like when so like they hunt something and they kill it, right? They have a whole ritual where they give thanks to the animal, but they're not giving thanks to the animal. They're giving thanks to the spiritual energy that comprises the animal.
Yeah,
and basically saying
in the Hindu religion, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Hindu, Buddhism, a lot of those Eastern religions operate that way within the indigenous people. So they're very connected with nature. They are God, nature is God, everything around them is. So they treat everything with reverence. Just a little offshoot talking point. Thought it'd be cool to share.
Little culture, little thought, little religion.
A little culture. We're adding some culture to the trend cabbage.
I like that. Dave, we got to get you back on more often. You've done so many cool shows with us, especially before we did video, and now we're doing the video thing. The last couple of years, we should get you back on more often. Talk some other topics.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna maybe take one less bong hit next time. Before the show. or more. One more. I just have to try. I'm always experimenting with different strains of weed before the show. Like sometimes it'll be a hybrid, whatever. But
what's a good strain?
It's always fun. It's always fun being on. I thought we were going to talk about trend for a minute, Jared. Didn't you mention trend? You wanted to talk about it, or that's for another show?
I love trend. I'm so strong on it.
I gotta tell you, I've discovered I think trend in the off season is not as bad of a thing as some people want to make it out to be. Just gonna say that. Just gonna throw it out there.
Hey, I agree with you. I feel that way about a lot of different substances in general, as far as anabolics go. That there's a lot of some mysticism around a lot of different compounds that people use. I think in large part to both social media and then just the access that a lot of people have to the internet and forums, and just readily believing anything that they read from any person without doing their due diligence to actually research if this person is actually knowledgeable on this topic, or do they just watch a couple of YouTubes of other people and just like, oh, now I'm an expert. Yeah. So everyone's an expert these days.
All right. Well, listen, let's wrap this thing up. Dave, if anybody wants to reach out to you because they want to work with you, you're not working with people, right?
Don't talk to Dave.
But you can follow Dave to follow his travels around the world chasing Slayer concerts and stuff like that.
Even though they're retired.
Well, they're retired, yes. But how many Slayer shows have you seen altogether?
58 since 1990.
You know the number.
Wife and I,
that's impressive.
A lot of this was midlife crisis stuff. My wife and I flying to different cities to see him. What can I say? I like music. I love live music.
That's cool.
But Slayer, 58 times since 1990.
That's cool.
I have a Kalick hack. If you want to start a conversation with Dave and trick him into talking about coaching, send him either a picture of Slayer or send him a picture of a black lab. You're good to go.
That'll work.
You're good to go.
True.
And then you just like, by the way, now that I have your attention.
Yeah. How's everything going over at your gym?
Oh, everything's going great. The business is continuing to grow. I will say that the holiday season tends to be a slower time. Gym wise, people going on vacation and wanting to enjoy the holidays, and not spend as much time under the iron. I understand, but overall, this has been a really good year for us. The bounce back from last year's lockdown has been pretty good. I'll say so. Everything's going really well. I can't complain. And this was a good season. This was my best season coaching wise. By far, like the most number of clients I've had, the most number of top placings and wins that I've acquired. Being known around here. I'm starting to go into public places and at least having one or two people know who I am and recognize me, which is really weird for me. It's very, very odd, and I think it'll always be strange, but I haven't gotten used to it.
But do they call you Derek, or do they say, hey, it's Weapon X?
No, do the sound.
They'll literally say, hey, oh, yeah, you got to do the sound effect, man. You miss your opportunity. No, usually, more often than not, they'll use both names. They'll be like, you're Derek, Weapon X, right? I'm like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me. Like when we went to New Orleans this weekend, I actually had someone at the airport recognize me from being at the show. There was a show that just happened like 2 or 3 weeks prior. I had like 5 clients in the show.
Hell yeah.
And him and his son walked up to me and he was like same thing. You're Derek, right? I saw you at the show. You're Weapon X. And I'm like, yeah, what the hell?
That's
and he
so
was
cool,
like,
man.
I was there with my son. His son was with him. I think he was like 10 or 11. And he was like, my son just started following bodybuilding, and he knows who you are. He's a big fan. And when I saw you, I had to bring him over so that he could meet you.
Oh,
that was really
yeah.
cool.
Hell yeah.
And it just so happened that we were going on the same flight too, which was really cool.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
It's a small,
that was pretty
world,
neat.
99.999% of the world thinks that Jay Cutler was the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. So shows how small our niche is. But yeah, when people finally, when people recognize athletes, whatever in our small niche, whatever, it's kind of cool, right?
That's badass.
It was really cool, and him bringing his son to meet me was even cooler.
Yeah.
Because I was 13, freshly 13 when I started lifting, and my dad was the reason that I even knew what bodybuilding was. So when I get to see that happen, in other father-son relationships, it definitely it has a higher meaning for me. It strikes a chord with me in a very positive way.
Oh yeah, that's cool. All right, well listen, let's wrap this thing up. Don't reach out to Dave for coaching, but you can follow him over on Instagram if you want.
I'm not taking it out. I'm not taking on any more clients. I'm just enjoying what I'm doing right now. Thank you guys.
Cool.
I'll
you
take all his clients, and so will Scott.
Yeah, we'll take all the other clients. That's okay.
Yeah, you guys, 2 good coaches over here.
You can reach out to Weapon X for coaching. Hit him up on Instagram. Do you have a website for FitFam Tampa? Is that? I feel like I always get it wrong. The name.
It's just Fam Tampa.
Fam Tampa.
But
all right.
Fam Tampa, yeah. We're working on a separate website. Like we want to have a separate one from the original Miami location. Yeah. But if anyone wants to either learn about the gym and or about my coaching, they can go on to www.wxathletics.com. I have a whole website built out for that.
I like that. I'll put a link to that in the description. Of course, you can hit me up, McNallyDiets@gmail.com. And thank you guys for hanging with us. Thanks for watching the show. We appreciate it. And Derek, it's great to be back, man. Great to talk to you again.
Oh yeah, the episode you guys are really gonna like is the one that's gonna be titled "Derek qualifies for the Olympia" or Weapon X qualifies for the Olympia.
Yeah, it's got to be Weapon X. Who's Derek?
me and Dave are going to be on here with party hats and streamers and all kinds of stuff. We're going to just be ready.
You guys just watch too. The audience, you guys can hang out, and like each time we record, Derek's face is going to get like leaner and leaner. I don't know. Does your face ever get like really sucked in? Because you look like you have a roundish face. So yeah, it will.
No, it will. If I'll have to send you a picture when we get off. But this past was probably the most sunken in my face had ever been.
Yeah,
it's gonna get cheekbony.
I want to be able to scrape Anastasia's face when she goes to kiss me.
All right, appreciate you guys. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Derek. See you guys soon.
You bet.